you mentioned that Harry Nilsson was a
Oh
difficult
yeah,
character. What was he like?
and he was very drunk, evidently, and he just has this nature that he got very nasty. Well, before I joined the Spiders, they were one of the best cover bands, as they say now,
Mhm.
around. And I'd go down and watch them, and I'd then go home and try to whip our little band into shape. And I mean, they were very creative. They built a web in the club, the Spiders Web,
Mhm.
and so a lot of national acts come to the play at the VIP. The Yardbirds included. We did shows with the oh god, who else was there? The Hollies. Jeff Beck, I think, was there. Not or them with
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison, yeah, and all these. We never got Freddie and the Dreamer. I was crushed about that, but we
Mhm.
did shows at the fairgrounds. So we had risen to the level, pretty much played here, and we were down in Tucson. We had a 45 out, Don't Blow Your Mind, and it charted along with Linda Ronstadt and the Stone Ponies, and so now I'm thinking, we got to get writing. So when I joined the band, I asked the guys, I said, do you do any of your own music? And Dennis was the only one that said, yeah, I'm trying to working on songs, and I said, well, they love it when we do their songs, but they're not going to do our song because we don't have any. If we ever got popular, we better get armed up, to carry on. And so we started writing, and we had, like I said, "Don't Blow Your Mind" got on the charts, and then so we started. So I, when I after that Battle of the Bands at the Christown Mall,
Mhm.
uh, I brought our band down and auditioned for the VIP with uh, the gentleman that ran that, Jack Curtis,
Mhm.
and he and we did like "She Loves You" and the Harmony, and we did Hollies, Beach Boys, and in the back in the, I noticed that there's the whole band, Alice, Vince then,
Mhm.
and John Tatum and John Spear. They're way back and watching us. So so we left, and we're waiting for the phone call, and I never got one, but there was these two twin brothers. They had a band called Adam Strange,
Mhm.
and they called me up one night and said, "Hey, Michael, the Spiders are auditioning guitar players down at the VIP. You ought to go check it out." So I got in my little Willys Jeep and drove down there and said, "Hey, I heard you're auditioning." So I auditioned with the band without John Tatum, and he taught me. Yardbirds were doing rave outs. We were big Yardbirds fans,
Mhm.
and Beatles and Hollies, and so we're walking out, and I'm going home to wait for another phone call. So I forget who said, "Hey, is that your Willys Jeep?" It was like World War II era. They had wood on it. It's like a Woody in California, but it was kind of clunky one. It wasn't a stylish one. And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Would you consider carrying some gear, to the gig?" And I said, "Sure." And so I was hired, I guess, as a roadie slash rhythm guitar player. So now we were thinking about, after expanding out, we're thinking let's go over to LA and check it out, because we'd heard about all the Sunset Strip and the wild stuff that's going on. And sure, it was wild. We went over there. The first night we got there, we went to the theater that they performed here. Had a really unique stage. It had a big circle in the middle that spun around, so a group could be setting up in the back and another finished playing, and it just spins around and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, the Grateful Dead, this is when Pigpen, the biker dude, was the leader of the band, and he played keyboards. They rented that theater from Friday to Sunday, and said, "Hey, you want to bring your band down here and play? Come on down." And so we were there at 4 a.m. And of course, none of the bands got paid,
Mhm.
but all the admissions, that was the Grateful Dead, because they rented the venue. And that's how we broke onto big splash in Hollywood. Right?
Right, right.
That's when we didn't we were saddened because the way it came down. It was kept a secret from us. I walked into the record plant. There's Bob Ezrin working with the band, Alice's band, and I kind of knew something was going on. And then later, Steve Hunter said, "Hey, let me show you the Black Widow." He's showing me arrangement of it, and then I went out to visit my folks, and then went over to L.A. and saw our old roadie Ronnie Volz. He goes, "Hey, have you seen Alice's Cooper show?" And I said, "Show?" He took me down to Warner Brothers Soundstage, and I saw the Cyclops and people jumping in and out of the split screen, and I'm going, "Oh, okay, this is what this is all about," you know. But it was kind of broke our hearts because we would have gone with it. You
Yeah,
know, we would
yeah.
have let Alice take his run, and they didn't have to go through all that, and just made us feel like really heart sick. You know, they thought so little of us. You know that we wouldn't sign on. You know, whatever it would take. And then of course Dig Wagner, they didn't like being behind the screen, so he's now complaining like Michael did. I wanted to do an album. I wanted to be in the Beatles for a moment. So I
Mhm.
did in my own way with Gene Cornish and Dino Denali from the Rascals. Had a great time. Was working on getting that out. And Neil calls up and says, "Hey, come on back. We're going to do the next Cooper album." Well, we thought we were rehearsing away. Neil calls Shep, and Shep gives a call back because we're working on now the next Alice Cooper album after
After
Muscle of
Battle
Love.
Axe.
Yeah. And Battle Axe, which that's what we were going with because you know we didn't, you know, Alice left and we didn't pursue his vision. But things like, oh, they don't want to, you know, they want to just wear Levi's and jam on stage. You know, they were just making this crap up. You know, they didn't need to do that. You know, and it hurt.
Mhm.
And I I just battened down the hatches because it was going to be a long and lonely road. The long and financially unstable road, dun, dun, that leads to your door. And so over the course of his career, you know, a solo artist is, you know, he reaches out to whoever. And there's not much continuity as far as if you started out with some group, you know, like, so I think 51 years, people are astonished that we finally got the band back together after all that
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
But and then the album sounds good. So wow, you know, you could have blown me over with a knocked me over with a pebble or
Well,
whatever.
as an album, it certainly does sound good. I mean, I'd like to take you back a while. You said you were influenced by the by Pink Floyd. Was the organ part of Black Juju lifted from Pink Floyd, Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun? And has Roger Waters come after you with his loyalty?
No, you know who came after me?
Oh,
Dennis Dunaway. Because so I did that. I didn't even you know, I was you know, I was a Pink Floyd fan, but I played keyboard, but I wasn't the child prodigy that Bob Ezrin was. So I kept it simple because I'm wearing my guitar playing because I was the guy who was going to have to do that. And Dennis said, "That sounds like Pink Floyd." But you know, like look at today. I mean, people are lifting stuff, and it's like da 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 da,
mhm.
and that was not, you know, a major thing, but it was on A Halo of Flies, which was an amazing song. And so you know, I took hits from the band, Dennis mostly, and but you know that comes with the, you know, you sign on for that. You know, you write a song and you submit it to the rest of the guys, and you're on trial. You know, whether it's going to make it.
Pink Floyd haven't contacted you about Black
No,
Juju.
no, no, nobody ever did. And I mean, I never thought it. I didn't even enter my consciousness that that was part of the thing because that was in Halo of Flies, and
Uh,
Halo of Flies didn't sound like Pink Floyd.
no,
I mean,
no.
it was. in that genre, but that's what we had been working towards when we didn't have our drummer John Spear, and then Neil came in, so we had to man up really quickly after Love It to Death because now, I mean, at the farm, Dennis and I go out for Instant Killer. Somebody from Arizona came out and visited us, and they dropped off psilocybin mushrooms. So Dennis and I, it was like around Halloween time, we go out to the garage. Let's think of the scariest thing we can. And still today, when I hear that, what did I do? The hair on the back of my neck stands up. I get this chill because Dennis and I, we were ultra focused in this. Mushrooms tend to do that for you without too much collateral damage. So Bob comes out. I met him at the airport because I hear him playing with. I didn't realize at the time, but he played with Wagner and Ursa Major, and I thought he had something to do with Frost. I
Mhm.
mean April Wine, and so he's coming out there, and so we start working on this songs for Love It to Death. And because he's such a great pianist, he naturally hears parts. He starts writing, and about 5 songs into it, I'm saying, Bob, listen, you're doing a great job, but we're not Procol Harum. So that had that kind of a feel to it. I wasn't going to be able to play it, and it's kind of you're softening up what we had now become a live act. We didn't have any hit albums that before Love It to Death came out, and so he took offense and he said, "I'm out of here." I said, "No, you're fired." We got a ugly argument, and then Shep
So
threw
you
money at the
fired Bob
problem.
Ezrin.
Bob Ezrin, yeah. We made up, kissed and made up. And so he still contributed parts like White Friday, but there were things that I could handle.
Mhm.
And it didn't go so, I guess, how would you describe Procol Harum? Lighter shade of pale. It's very sort of classically oriented, the sound of it.
Baroque,
Yeah, yeah.
neo-Baroque music. Yeah.
And so it all worked out. I think he realized that, he was trying to fix everything with one fell swoop, and it just didn't work out that way. And I think he was kind of surprised that we, because when he found out I'm edgy was I'm 18, he was like
Mhm.
going, "Wow, how did I miss that?" So he was a little embarrassed.
Well, you said in your book that you felt that Bob Ezrin took the freakiness out of the band. Do you think that's true?
You go, what?
Took the freakiness out of the band.
Well, I might have said that because of what was happening. The story I just told you about.
Mm.
I love it to death. Because I thought that it was softening up our this harder edge that we had acquired. It didn't come without some sacrifice. I mean, we moved from Los Angeles, hanging out, the Hollywood, and now we're living on a farm with a dirt road, no phone,
Yeah.
a well, because we want to do this. And then Bob comes in and adds a little too much, but just because, but he was into it. He thought he got it. David Briggs didn't get it. Frank, none of those people got it. Of course, we were writing our writings a little fast forward now, and we're
Yeah.
putting out some good stuff. And I think it was just he was into it to the point where I think he was just being a musician. Like we
Yeah.
try this out, and I finally spoke up, and I think one of the band wanted to kill me at that point because Bob was like, everybody was loving it, but I'm would be tasked to pull that off, if we went with that. And so I spoke up, and so we ended somewhere in the middle. We have some of that freakiness there, and yet I thought we retained the edge. So after the album came out, and I saw what I came to a point of enlightenment about the new sound. We're back now where we were when John Spear was the drummer. Now Neil is playing like you know he's serious chops, and Dennis. I have to thought, okay, Dennis is a lead bass player, Neil's a lead drummer, Glen's a lead guitar player, Alice is a lead singer, and I am a rhythm guitar player holding down the fort. The basic chords and driving it. So it was a deal. We made a deal. So
Do you think
it picked
Glenn
up.
caused things to turn sour in the band with his problems?
Well, because well, it culminated. Glenn would always, well, he would sometimes he wouldn't even come down from his room and
Yeah.
rehearse. Sometimes he'd come down and then one day he met this guy, Rockin' Reggie, at the record plant, and they became buddies. And he invited him out to the house. Next thing you know, Glenn's not coming down, but Rockin' Reggie's coming down. And I'm going like, okay, another person in the room. Okay, all right, want a slice of me? You know, my songwriting.
Yeah.
So he had an idea, and the band loved him. So even though he did, it was like this. Okay, so if the song "School's Out" and he hears me working on, it, so he goes, "School's out, school's out." He was more of a sort of 50s rock and roll guy. School's out. You know, that was this kind of pitch. And then we had another billion, billion, billion. You know, he just jazzed it up a little in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, really? This is how you write songs? Okay. And he was, everybody had high hopes that he was help Glenn through this period in time. But he was just down there and for himself. That's why he was at the record plant to meet John Lennon when he was
Uh-huh.
upstairs with, they called it Too Many Cooks with
Spoil the broth. Yeah.
yeah, it was Mick Jagger, a lot of people. I think Eric Clapton was there and Hendrix and the recording. And then when they didn't claim their recordings, they went into the dumpster when they finally sold it. And I couldn't believe it. They didn't do more to, I mean, it was almost like, okay, we put a notice in the newspaper. You better come down and get your stuff or it's going to be tossed. Somebody else is taking it over. And maybe then, oh, nobody came down. Well, I'll just take these tapes for myself.
Uh-huh.
You know, it was like a fire sale.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something was always there, and it culminated in we were going to play the Peach Tree Pop Festival with the Almond Brothers. So we're all downstairs in the car, ready to go to the airport, and David Neat keeps knocking on Glenn's door. He's not answering, and then finally, after repetitive tries, he opens the door with a knife in his hand. He goes, "What do you want, mother? You
Yeah.
want me? Come on!" And David Lee just said, "No, you go on, Glenn." And he just walked in. We got in the car. He went to Peachtree Festival, and then Glenn somehow got his ass there, and we played. But it was an
Difficult.
awakening for all of us, you know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Glenn had reached a level that he would do something like that.
I
We
know.
were all surprised because Glenn was usually kind of a fun-hearted asshole. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it was always the bark was worse than the bark was worse than the bite.
Yeah.
And he had fans in San Francisco when this guy was following him all around. And Glenn's like, oh God. So he goes, get in the bathroom. He
Hmm.
we're, we're in there. I was in there. I think Neil was in there. And this guy, oh, wow. He's all excited because he thinks there might something happen with Glenn, you know? So
Yeah.
he goes
Yeah.
in the bathroom. Glenn turns on the cold water and walks out. And the guy comes out, Glenn, you're the devil. He's like, stop dripping, slap him back. He goes, maybe next time.
Uh,
He was he loved W.C. Fields. I never I never drink anything fish fucking. He was talking about water. Glenn would say that. So he was just an interesting, very interesting guy that was uh, had the Jonas Clouds, you know, following him around because when we were trying to figure out for the longest time who was provoked enough to steal his suitcase. And then when we were checking out of the hotel, we went to Howard Johnson, came back. All of our luggage is in the lobby, and now his suitcase is missing. We're like, what next? And now Glenn doesn't sound like he used to, doesn't look like he used to, and he struggled.
I
And
bet. I bet.
he tried, and he tried hard, and it just got the best of him. And I feel for the guy because it probably the worst way if you were involved in a musical situation, the worst way you could go. I mean, he kicked himself out of the band. You
Yeah.
know, Alice and I and Neil went over to his house and said, Glenn, you need to take a year off, get your health back together, get with somebody that you like to play with, and start working on your chops again. And we're going to take care of you. Make your. By at that time our accountants got us on. We were on $35,000 a month salary,
Hmm.
and he said we were like kids in a candy store taking it out, and the tax implications were enormous.
Hmm.
So we were on salary. Glenn well, you get all your salary and any credits if you write a song, no problem. He said, no. He blew us off. And we went, what? All this work going forward and you don't want to be involved in it? I don't understand you, Glenn. He was like the devil's advocate or something. It's like I couldn't figure it out
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
was a long road,
I
and
bet it was. I've got to
but
ask you. I was
yes,
interested in your book. You mentioned that Harry Nilsson was a
oh
difficult
yeah.
character. What was he like?
Well, we were over in London, schools out, and I remember Ashley Pandell was our road manager then, and sitting in this little boutique hotel. The elevator is probably like a phone booth and a half,
Hmm.
and the rooms are real small. And so I walked downstairs, and there's Dick Phillips was our road manager, and he's there with Ashley Pandell, and there's a guy from the press, and I think maybe I don't know if Glenn was there or if Alice was there, but Nielsen walks in and he sits down at the table and he's like kind of I didn't even know who he was, and but I had when I found out, I liked you know they they did Me and My Arrow. Did you
Hmm.
ever see that? And I
Yeah.
thought it was brilliant. But he all of a sudden it's like, "What's up with you?" Me?
Hmm.
Yeah. He was like calling me out.
Yeah.
I go, what? And this kept up for a couple of minutes. And then he stands up and I stand up. And then Ashley grabs both of us. No, no, it's not going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
That was weird. Like, flash forward now, we're at the record plant. I'm doing In My Way, my solo album. Nielsen's hanging around with Lennon, and he's on
Yeah.
that escapade at the Troubadour with the Kotexes, and Rod Stewart's next door at the bar where his soccer team, excuse me, sorry, Rod, uh, gets together after they play. And I'm walking over to the bar, and here comes Nelson out in the parking lot, and I don't think I don't think he could remember me in that situation, but I saw him, and he started doing it again. He starts calling me out. I can't think of a better word for it, and I just had to ignore him because I wasn't going to get in a fight. He's not a big, huge guy, but he's very tall, and he was
Yeah.
very drunk, evidently, and he just has this nature that he got very nasty.
Yeah.
It happened twice, and I thought, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? Am I inappropriate or something? I'm not bowing down on my knees, and it was just crazy. And then after I didn't see him again, then he passed, and
Yeah.
it was just a weird experience for me. But it didn't get too ugly, but it was ugly enough, and I
Uh,
didn't know why that was happening, and for no reason. I'm glad to hear that people like the album, and it
yeah.
wasn't just Hell Unusual 51 years, because I don't know that there's many groups that had to wait that long to get back together or never got back together.
Exactly. Well, we're kind of full circle with the interview. We're back at the Revenge of Alice Cooper.
Sure.
This album is available to buy now. I would highly recommend that you acquire a copy. There is a purchasing link just below this video. Okay. Anyway, all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye
Carry on,
bye. Bye
my
bye.
wayward son.
Yes. Bye bye.